So I've divided it into three parts: e-invoicing, e-way bill, and returns. So we'll start with e-invoicing first, and we can take up the queries as and when they come, so that it becomes more interactive. So in the first case study, we have Messer GSPL, who had declared its turnover in the return, the aggregate turnover its return in the year 2019-20, around 19.5 CR. When it came to filing its GSTR 99C, the reconciliation statement, it was revised upward to 20.01 CR. So basically, since the aggregate turnover had crossed, e-invoicing had become applicable to the SSC from 1st of April 2022. However, it was realized by the SSC only on the 1st of October 2022. So with these brief facts, we'll now take each and every scenario forward. A point to be noted is, now since he realized it on the 1st of October, he uploaded all the invoices from April to September 22 on the 5th of October 2022, because the portal was accepting it. So now IRN generation date is 5th of October, but each and every invoice is mentioning the date of the transaction only. So the invoice date remains the date of transaction. However, date of generation of IRN is 5th of October 2022. Now GST department wants to disallow the credit of one of GSPL's customer, RJPL, on the condition that one of the condition of section 16, saying that it was without a tax invoice, is contravened and wants to reverse it. With this, we'll take each and every scenario forward. So now, is the department correct in stating that the entire input tax credit, which is claimed by RGPL, to be reversed? I'll open the floor up so we can discuss.
So, my thoughts I just put in. Now, as far as the compliance of e-invoice was concerned, as the facts of this case study highlights, that there was a need to have that e-invoice in place, but which was not done as a matter of fact. Having realized that in October, they have generated the e-invoices. Of course, the generation of the e-invoice date has to be 5th October, but they have been generated for each of the respective invoices that were there.
Correct.
Right? So once done that in 5th of October 2022, I would feel then it should be treated as a valid invoice. So there was a problem, or there was an error on the part that it was not done at that time. Subsequent to happening of this, all the invoices should be considered as valid, and therefore the credit should be allowed.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online would? Yeah, I think Vikram Bhai has raised his hand. I think you'll have to let them unmute.
Vikram Bhai, you can unmute and you can speak.
Hello.
We can hear
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So actually, I'm Vasudev. Sir. I just want to add that I agree with what the sir told. I just want to add one more point, that there's no date for generating e-invoicing prescribed under the Act. It's just that it's applicable from 1st October, and you have to upload all your invoices by following the e-invoicing procedure. So I feel the purposive interpretation should be taken instead of restrictive interpretation, because the purpose of bringing e-invoicing is to curb the bogus invoices and to curb the people from evading tax. So I guess once the tax has gone to the treasury of the government, even though we have uploaded the e-invoice later, the credit should not be disallowed under section 16. And the section 16 should be read as whole, that you should have a tax invoice, the tax has gone to the government, we have received the goods, and we have filed the return as per section 39. So I feel purposive interpretation should be taken instead of restrictive interpretation.
What he says, there is no date prescribed
There
for
is no
issuance of the
e-invoice.
Okay.
I think first, before, can we address the echo, then we continue.
Here there is no echo.
Someone said there is echo. Vasu, is our voice clear, or is there an echo?
No, your voice is clear, Umang.
Yeah, okay. So just trying to act as a devil's advocate, if you refer to rule 48.5, 48.5 says that every invoice issued by a person to whom sub-rule 4, basically for e-invoice, applies in any manner other than the manner specified in said sub-rule, shall not be treated as an invoice. Can this, act in against us?
Umang, if I may add.
Yeah.
Keeping aside the validity of this rule 48.5 itself, if we go to the provision of 16.2a, it starts with that you should be in possession of a tax invoice. Now, this itself raises a question in view of 48.5, whether I am actually in possession of a tax invoice on the date on which I have availed the input tax credit. That is where the issue comes into play. If we find the particular provision in the GST Act which empowers them to put forth all these things, everything can be challenged in GST. Each and everything you can put it as ultra virus and unconstitutionally challenged. But if it is actually held to be valid 48.5, in that way, I think there would be a contravention 16.2a on that front. And with that being in place, one point that Vasudev mentioned that it is to curb the fake invoicing, all these things. This itself would come to the aid of revenue, stating that when e-invoicing is applicable, how should we assume that this e-invoicing was not a backdated transaction that you entered, let's say for the month of April, you decided on only 11th of May to issue the invoice date 1st April. How should we presume that all these transactions are not post facto put in the records or these are genuine transactions? E-invoice comes with the basic purpose that you should be generating on live basis.
Correct.
Or maybe with a reasonable delay of let's say 24 hours or so at the most. That's the basic purpose of e-invoicing, to curb the fake invoicing. Although I don't think so, it will be curbed with the fake invoicing will be curbed actually. Someone who wants to generate fake invoicing will still generate e-invoice on live basis. But to some extent, you may still have an issue with 16.2a on that. That's my assumption.
So you are trying to say that 16.2a is a precondition and not a post facto condition.
It's a precondition.
So then what would be the need for 16.1? See, then what would be the need for 16.1? If that was the case, then wasn't 16.1, they could have included that in 16.1 itself,
no,
right?
No, sir. 16.1 states that you are entitled to take input tax only if you have used the goods or services but supplies for your furtherance of business.
Correct.
So whether I have used it for furtherance of a business or in the course of a business, that's one. Now, once I've used it, now am I in possession of a tax invoice? Is it reflected in my 2B? Is the tax paid by the person? Have I filed my 3B? Those are the procedures are there. So first and foremost thing, it should be a business expenditure.
Correct.
In simple words, not exactly quoting the law, but it should be a business expenditure. And now this business expenditure is principally eligible to me. The time when it gets eligible, the timing would be when I get in possession of the tax invoice. The tax invoice is technically delivered to me late and it's booked late in my books. So I would not be eligible. To give you an example, let's say there is an invoice of 30th of September, which is delivered to me on 5th of October. I book in my books of accounts 5th of October. I deduct TDS for the month of October, deposit that TDS in month of November. Correct. And I still claim no, I was in possession of that tax invoice in 30th September. That itself I am contracting my own self. My books are not putting the correct picture. So unless and until I am in possession of that tax invoice, even though if it is reflecting in 2B, still I wouldn't be eligible. Or let's say if I have not filed my 3B, I wouldn't be eligible.
So, but my question is, in section 16.2, not all conditions can be fulfilled on the day you are actually filing your 3B. Like for example, whether the supplier has paid the tax or not, I cannot confirm it today. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example.
Very much.
18th, you are filing your 3B and 20th, he's filing his 3B. It is possible he may have reduced. See, it is possible. So that certain aspects of it will only be it will be post facto. So won't it that, so all conditions, won't it become post facto then? Because when I'm actually sitting and doing it, as long as all 4 items are being fulfilled, why not credit not be eligible?
So for that, I think we'll have to just go to the section 42 and 40 taken under MIS forms. The very fundamental that it was supposed to upload a GST 1/13. You would have got the 2A by 1 by 10. You would have got the 2A by 11. You would have uploaded your GST at 2/15. All these MIS form would have been generated by 16. Reconciliation in 1920, you pay the tax and claim the credits. And thereafter, even after matching and all those things, the supplier defaults in paying the taxes. That input tax is automatically added to my output tax liability
in the next month.
So this entire procedure was prescribed. So for that particular condition, 16(2)(c) or D, what you are referring to, that could be argued that the lawmakers itself haven't given the mechanism by which this can be ensured. There is a lacuna in the law itself whereby I cannot ensure all these things. Similar to when the challenge was there for 36(4), when 2A has got no legal validity, how are you trying to impose a condition over there? But possession of a tax invoice is prescribed in the law. That is what my point is. So unless until I have received the supplies, unless until I have in possession of the tax invoice, I wouldn't be able to go to the next condition. That point.
So basically what you're saying is then at that point of time, RJPL was incorrect in claiming the credit. Now, my only question to you is, how would RJPL be aware that the person that I'm purchasing from is eligible for invoice?
In fact, that was the next point which I was going to put.
Yeah.
Because you cannot cast a condition on the recipient, which was actually an obligation on the supplier. So if supplier has not complied to what he was supposed to do, as a recipient, how should I be penalized in the form? In this particular case, I may not even know.
Impossible act.
Therefore,
Impossible act. I get it initially because someone who has, let's say, issued an invoice of 50 rupees to 10 different persons, total liability is 500, and he has just disclosed 15 is 3B. He may give his 3B to me, and all the 10 different persons show that आपका tax हमने भर दिया है. So there is no way for me to verify all those things.
It's not practically possible to do.
See, all those things would have been possible when all this GST 1, 1A, 2, 2A, your 3A, 3, MIS 1, 2 would have been in force. The entire mechanism would have sailed through.
Omitted, so it's not practically possible.
So all the sections has been made by looking into 1, 2, and 3. GST 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
Now, unfortunately, in between 3B has come, and the whole system has been collapsed. It appears to be like that. So that's why all these problems come. That how to now do the reconciliation. That is the basic difficulty. Yeah, Umang, anyone?
Yeah, anyone online wants to contribute here?
Even your monitoring that online.
He's monitoring.
Yeah.
in fact, one more point which I want to highlight is he has specifically highlighted that he is a regular taxpayer, GIRPN, sorry, GIPN, and he's uploaded GSTR 1 and 3B regularly. So this itself shows a fact that this was merely a procedural lapse which happened. And there was never an intention of the fake invoice or something of that sort which we were discussing earlier.
Correct.
And therefore, all these procedural lapse, even when we had SEMAT credit, we had ample of case studies where there was some or the other procedural missed out either by the person who was issuing the invoice or was taking. And courts have held that this procedural lapse should not deny you the substantial benefit of the credit.
Correct.
So in those situations, I would feel that yes, the credit cannot be denied. Of course, facts may change or the answers may change if, let's say, this guy has constantly done even after missing out in 6 months.
Exactly.
Correct.
The courts may want to look at it in a different perspective.
So here,
But again, the $1 million question, whether ITC would be disallowed. That's the court will take into consideration the penalty perspective. That whether to penalize him or not to penalize him. But as regards the disallowing the ITC, whether what will happen? Suppose if that person has in this case, he has issued the invoice after 6 months. Suppose if he has not issued, then what would be the situation? Then same situation would be there, that his ITC would be disallowed. Now here I would like to say something, there are 16(1) and 2 regarding the post-facto effect or a pre-thing.
Yeah.
Now if you see 16, this is a problem which is there from we are fighting from the last 5 years. Whether 16(1) and 16(2 kaise dekhne ka. In my view, 16(1) is a eligibility condition, because what it says when you are eligible to avail the credit. 16(2) says the entitlement. So what is the difference between eligibility and entitlement? So eligibility, if we see that yes, once I take it, I should be eligible. So for eligibility, I have to again go to 36. What documents I have with me? Entitlement comes later on. Once you are eligible, then you have to check whether I am entitled and whether I have fulfilled all the conditions. So that in that condition, as Sumit has said, that most of the conditions are such which are free in nature. That means at the time of taking credit, I should be able to check it. But two clauses are such wherein it doesn't fulfill the condition. One is the payment made by my purchaser from whom, so seller from whom I bought the goods. And second one in respect of the payment of consideration within 6 month time. That cannot be met. Accordingly, then, in my view, this is a post facto effect. That means that is just called the entitlement. So at the time of assessment, if it has been said that yes, if you are not followed this, then your credit would be not allowed. So this is a post facto. So now again coming to the thing that whether since this person, gentleman, has issued the invoice afterwards, whether his credit would be disallowed. No, he has a very good ground to say, and I concur with the view of Umang that yes, the credit cannot be disallowed because he has issued the invoice, though late.
Correct.
So for that matter, at the most, the penalty can be levied, but no ITC can be disallowed. That creates one more. Yeah.
No. So same thing that let's take a scenario that the e-invoice was not even generated.
Yeah, exactly.
So then what would happen? Would our answer change that e-invoice was not generated? Again, my view on this would be that my answer remains the same because it is an impossible act. How can a purchase that guy was supposed to is not issued? It is always that it is a my benefit. I'm not saying a right. It is still a benefit input tax credit, and that it should be available to me because it is something that was out of my control. Anyone has any other view?
I have a comment on that front. That something that comes into my mind is that let's say instead of issuing a tax invoice, we issued a culture document. It was not in my hand. वो क्या issue करता नहीं करता है. And also you have to see it should be cash in. The same way I have to see it as an e-invoice, and how do I verify these things?
You don't know.
Yes, exactly. I'm coming to that, sir. How do I get to know whether it is liable for e-invoicing or not? If I'm not mistaken, your e-invoice portal has a tab on the portal listed whether e-invoice is enabled for this tax person or not.
Correct.
So for all such cases where you know your vendors concept is there, the companies are implementing at least one of the two things. They are getting a declaration from the vendors that yes, my turnover is below the prescribed limits and e-invoice is not applicable. Or in cases where let's say these kind of things are not there, and like one of the issues that has come to me from the chambers of itself for residential courses where we are having these RRCs at your big 5-star hotels, and these are your large corporates having turnovers into hundreds of crores. So we should be ensuring that e-invoice is applicable. So when someone wants to like duff you out that no, it's not applicable to us, the entity was just forming this year, simply put the GST number on the portal, check if it is enabled or not. And if it is showing not enabled, take a screenshot and keep it in your records. That is something that I can do. So I wouldn't say it's impossible, it's hard to do, but not exactly impossible condition. For other things, I believe there was some compliance for income tax purposes also, whereby they had asked for the turnovers, whether you filed your ITRs for the past years. I don't know exactly what was the compliance requirement in income tax, but I remember many of my clients have asked for declarations whether you filed your ITR, what is the acknowledgement number of ITR. So there was a mechanism you go over there. This guy would be entitled to ITC and could argue it only when he has that kind of declaration from his vendor stating that yes, e-invoice is not applicable, and he was also under some kind of reasonable belief. Since his balance sheet was showing a turnover of 19 crore but his 990 was showing 20 crores or something of that sort. So there was a reasonable belief that yes, I was assuming my aggregate turnover to be my balance sheet turnover.
Correct.
So all those facts could come into play, but again, have I done my bit? That's my important question that I would like to see. And over here, it's not a case that input tax is being completely denied. It will be allowed to you once the e-invoice is generated. No one is stopping you to claim it in October when the e-invoice is generated. Revenue on to you could possibly argue that I will deny this input tax today in April 22 or May 22, and you claim this back in October 22 when you have the invoice, when you're possession of a valid tax document. Something on those lines possibly. So on that line, those grounds they could ask for the interest component for the 6 months, where you have availed this input tax prematurely. Something on this nature has already happened where a lot of people have claimed their input tax in March 22 when making provision for expenses. There has been provision for expense book for audit fees, and along with the provision, they claim the input tax on the audit fee also. So ultimately, we argue with the officers over there, sir, October में invoice तो आ ही गया ना उनका गलती से पहले कह दिया, ठीक है 6 महीने का interest भर दो आप.
Services has not been received.
Services में ongoing receipt sir, services ongoing receipt.
March 22 में अगर provision किया है तो सर्विस कहाँ मिलेगी? आपको बिल मिला अक्टूबर में.
So that question incidentally wasn't raised, but I would still have answers. A quarterly review होते रहता था.
But my single argument there would be that the government's treasury has received the amount in April itself.
Yes.
Then the question of interest should see, even if you are going to say that chalo reverse karo or recredit lo, the question of interest and penalty should not rise then, because revenue is not out of pocket.
So in that case, on advances, are you eligible for input tax if you're getting receipt voucher instead of tax invoice?
No, but so the rules.
Government has received this thing.
Mr. Subramanian online also.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Subramanian.
Sir, my view is that, that rule 48(5) says that, it will not be treated as an invoice. But is there any condition that, if it is in the section, in the act, you are not eligible to claim the credit if the, invoice is not generated as per e-invoicing norms?
Sir, section 31 says that, you have to refer to the rules, and in the rules 48(4) says that the prescribed registered person is required to generate an e-invoice. Considered, and then 40 and same will be considered as a and states that tax invoice and invoice is meaning tax invoice.
Okay.
So, Sumit, your proposition that interest and penalty could be levied for not, because at that point of, since I was not having a tax invoice, I am not eligible for the credit. To me, it appears it would be a difficult proposition. Now the concept, right, at that point of time when the law was there, at that point of time this to be was not there. So whether it really physically I have the tax invoice or not, that will not material, because the other party is confirming that yes, I have sold the goods to this gentleman, and on the basis of that I am taking the credit. And now the government itself says that we will give you the credit based on the 2B. So now how can you go back and say that now we will not give you the credit on the basis of 2B? But apart from that, once it is there on the portal, some invoice or authentic, very good, then definitely you can claim it. Though physically, you may not have that invoice, because now it is an era of digitalization. So it is not necessary that you should have the physical invoice with you. It says that you should have, it should be backed by some proof which says that yes, there is a invoice and the goods or services has been backed by it. So again, to argue put forward that suppose if that is also not there, then also you cannot deny the credit and ask me the interest or penalty.
In fact, sir, I would like to argue saying that I already have a tax.
You will have a tax invoice. No,
the
but
only challenge was it was supposed to be having an IRN, which is not
correct.
That error or defect,
because 48(5) says that it has to be it cannot be an invoice.
It cannot be an invoice.
That's why the difficulty comes. So if we strictly interpret 16(2), it says I don't have any invoice.
Yeah, I'm trying to say I have an invoice with some errors. I'll tell you why.
Exactly. That is some.
In Senate credit, we had a recent decision in tribunal, Mumbai tribunal, where the credit was denied because that party who had issued the invoice didn't mention their service tax number in the invoice. It was department allegation that there is a rule 4A says you have to have these many items in the invoice, otherwise it is not a valid invoice, and therefore no credit was entitled. What courts ultimately said that standing today, the defect which was there has been rectified, and you are not denying whether it was received or not. Therefore, on this procedural, so what I am trying to extend that as an argument, I already have a tax invoice. Maybe yes, it's a defective that IRN was not there. It has been made well on 5th of October.
True, true.
Once done that, it is as good as a compliant
Yes, yes,
invoice.
very true. That is also available. There it only says it's an invoice. That is not, they have not made a correct invoice or effective invoice. They have not
True.
mentioned.
Correct.
And in service tax era, we were also claiming the NVT on the basis of photocopies of the invoices.
Correct.
Right?
To back you up, I've got something on this front to support the argument. 16.2a reads that you should be possession of a tax invoice or such other tax paying documents as well prescribed. That prescription is there in 36, which prescribes the invoice in accordance with 31. And thereafter, there is a proviso that if the said document does not contain all the specified particulars, but contains the amount of tax charge, description, all these things. Over here, IRN is not a mandatory condition. Correct. So it could be forming part of other particulars. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not legally obliged to issue the copy of the invoice generated. My invoice should bear the IRN and the QR code. That's all. That's a part of the particulars. I'm not mandated to give the same copy given by the invoice portal. Correct. So it's the invoice that I've given is missing the IRN and the QR. That's all. Correct. So possibly there could be conflict between the proviso to 36.1 and 48.5 on that front.
Correct.
So that might come to a aid on that.
In fact, if you were to read the FAQs and also the government stand, that you have to continue issuing invoice in your books. It's not a replacement of your invoice in the books. So e-invoice is just so that we can collect standardized data at one point is what when they introduced e-invoice. So even that argument I think can be taken.
On that, if GST was introduced to allow seamless input tax credit.
Now both the words have been divided, same and less.
Yes.
They both have been divided.
So if we don't have anything, can we go ahead to the second scenario?
So Umang, one very important thing or a takeaway will be that suppose if you have forgotten to issue the e-invoice, then it is better to do it at a later date also.
Correct.
But just don't keep mum.
Yeah.
So at the same time, what Sumit highlighted is also very relevant, that you should ask from a declaration from your supplier whether you are covered under e-invoice or not. That gives a fair share of idea whether he is compliant with that.
But now, since the limit is 10 crore, so it's a very small amount. So now I think
now a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people now is under that.
In fact, they have proposed 5 crores.
Yeah.
January or April.
Everybody now in the e-invoice.
Basically, 80-90% of the people contributing to the revenue will come.
So I firmly to believe that it might come down to 2 crores also. Anyone filing annual return?
They have to file.
So now coming to the second, now this is on the output side, we were discussing input side. Now output side, delayed issuance of e-invoice. Can GST department proceed with recovering penalty on delayed generation of e-invoice on each of the transactions? So basically we've missed out from April to September. So let's even just say there were only 100 transactions. Can they recover penalty on each of these transactions individually? I'll just point out section 122(1), which I am reading with sub-rule 5. Penalty for non-generation of e-invoice is 100% of the tax due or 10,000, whichever is higher, for every invoice. Or penalty for incorrect invoicing is rupees 25,000 per invoice. So now what is the group's view? Anyone would like to share on this?
As observed, as it may sound on per invoice basis, but that is the provision.
So then, would it be then tax due or 10,000?
Which is higher.
Okay.
In fact, I have generated e-invoice. When the department officers come, I have already generated e-invoice.
This is only in case where it is absolutely not generated. In fact, again going on the devil's advocate, even after issuing a show cause notice, I may generate e-invoice. Ultimately, it is generated.
So 122(1) I'll just read. 1 second. Where a taxable person who supplies any goods or service without issue of any invoice or issues an incorrect or false invoice with regard to any such supply, then I'll come directly, shall be liable to pay a penalty of 10,000 rupees or an amount equivalent to the tax evaded or the tax not deducted under section 51 or short deducted not paid to the government or tax not collected under section 52 or short collected or collected but not paid to the government or ITC availed or passed or distributed irregularly or refund claimed fraudulently, whichever is higher.
I'm not covered by this section altogether.
Okay.
122.
So you are saying I go to 125 general clause.
I have not read it recently, but if you can just see, because on this reading, it's not a case I have not issued the invoice. It's an incomplete invoice.
Correct.
It's not a case of incorrect or false invoice. It's an incomplete invoice. There is a tax invoice. In fact, on that front. And if we go very super technical, just talking about invoices, not talking about tax invoice at all.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, so if you read the definition 266 invoice or tax invoice, it says it has been issued as per section 31. So there you cannot take that step.
31, they are specific 31, 1,
Yeah,
3 or
yeah.
something.
31. As per section 31.
So again, 31 is not asking to generate it on the e-invoice mode, sir.
It only says that you have to issue the tax invoice.
No, so usme the problem again will come to 48.5.
48.5 is very again super technical. It's not about tax invoice, issuance of invoice.
Correct. So if you read the definition, what sir is
It
referring
says
to?
invoice or tax invoice means the tax invoice referred to in section 31.
31.
So as per 31, what it says, you have to issue tax invoice.
Correct.
And tax invoice में लिखा है वो e-invoice में जाओ as per rules 48.4. 48.4 में 48.5 लिखा है as per 48.4 if someone was eligible, if he does not issue, it is not an invoice. वो circle complete होता है.
Circle वहाँ complete होगा. So that's why it's a you have not issued invoice. That's the fact.
So if we are arguing there that invoice है पर credit मिलना चाहिए, all those things तो इधर फिर गड़बड़ ना हो जाए.
आप ऐसा मत बोलो भाई, सुमित भाई मर जाएंगे.
Anybody online wants to share their views?
Whether this subclause 1 would attract or not, or we have to go to 125.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Krita here from Saket side.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would like to just make a point that for penalty, imposition of penalty, department should prove mens rea or guilty mind or intention to evade tax. In this case, if we see GIPL correctly raised invoices, paid the taxes, and it was a genuine case where the party was not aware that he is liable to do e-invoicing. And here then penalty can be defended.
So I had just one argument to this. I agree that mens rea should not be there, but just an argument is, this is not technical penalty. This is not a penalty where there is some act of fraudulent act or something has happened, and this is prescribed in the act. That all those Dharmendra text and all those case laws are there. It was not prescribed here. It is specifically prescribed. So can we then move away from it? Then because then government does not need to prove mens rea.
In fact, to some extent, there has been a precedent that ignorance of law cannot be excused.
This is a procedural defect, no? So
this is a procedural, technical defect.
At least argue that I was not aware.
Correct.
That argument may not sustain. Definitely, the procedure has been complied belatedly. That's one thing, but I don't think the ignorance can be pleaded. And ignorance is, let's say, when e-invoicing was issued for the first time, they already waived off the penalty for 6 months, right from October 22 March 21. And thereafter, it has been continuously being advertised. So I don't think so.
Now you cannot take the fee of that ignorance. It would be very difficult.
When it comes to the very first time, okay, for the marginal period, you can possibly say that yes, I was not aware, made the compliance belatedly. Similar to over here, if I made the compliance belatedly, I shouldn't be penalized. That on that very long, right? But mens rea is not a condition in the 122 if I'm reading it correctly.
Yeah. Anybody? So then you mean to then do you agree that 122 should apply, or will you still go to 125?
Again, I'm trying to put for there is no non-compliance as to 122. It's not a case that I'm not. If I'm till the time I've issued a e-invoice, even belatedly, the compliance has been done.
Okay.
And more so with the fact that there was no intent to evade taxes, or it was not that the goods were caught in transit without a cover of invoice, and later on I've issued a invoice of that sort.
So here I just wanted to draw your attention. First of all, you say if there any default? If yes, then you go whether there is an intention to evade tax or not.
Yes.
First of all, we have to arrive. Yes, there is an default in issuance of the gift. Once you have decided that, so that means that there is a procedural lapses.
Yes.
Once the procedural lapses has been satisfied condition, then we have to see whether minimum penalty of 10,000 or maximum penalty of amount equivalent to tax evaded. That we have to compare. Now, while comparing, we have to see whether is there any amount of tax evaded. The obvious reply is no, because in this
Tax
case,
भर
that
दिया.
person has filed the GSTR 1 and 3B. So naturally, there is no tax evaded. So only the minimum penalty would be there.
But problem is for every infraction. So
That is the third thing. Okay, whether
problem
then
है
for
उधर
each and every the default there is a penalty, or it is it will stop to for the whole 6 months जितने भी मैंने नहीं किए उसकी मेरे को 10,000
एक साथ में 10,000 करके वो because इधर for every invoice for every instance.
It would be for every default. For default. Yes, what is your view? For default. Everyone is from the department side. ऐसा नहीं है ना कि this side is department.
No, but at least everyone agrees that here it says 100% of tax to be evaded वो नहीं आएगा तो वो zero हो जाएगा. At least 10,000 का capping आएगा.
The minimum, the maximum would be 10,000 kind of.
Correct.
Because there is an argument, I agree. So my view initially was that these penalties for non-generation and incorrect invoicing. So therefore, that 125 might apply. And 125 may maximum 25,000.
I am of the same view that it may not covered by this 122(1) at all.
Actually, 125 is.
No, but
there is a default.
Like we came to the circle, वो circle complete होता है invoice का.
Default है. Default है. There is no doubt about it. But the default is not covered by this section. That's what I'm trying to put.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not stating that you have not issued the invoice within the deadline specified.
Mr. Kabra wants to add.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So this is Sush. इसमें जो 4 में person should prepare and once it is they have not mentioned any period in 48.4. Suppose I generate IRN on 5th of October for all the invoices from April to September. So I have generated all the IRNs now, and as per subclause 5, now they are not an invalid invoice. So whether 122 subclause 1 will be applicable then, because now all the conditions of
okay, go ahead. Okay, so you're saying that even though belatedly I have complied with it eventually, so therefore this penalty should not trigger.
Even in rule 48.4, they have not mentioned any time period that you have to prepare on the same day or within a week or within 1 month or whatever may be the thing.
No, so, but section 31 always applies, right?
If belatedly also I have prepared that e-invoice or IRN, I have generated that IRN. So now I am satisfying clause 5. So now if once my clause 5 is satisfied, I have not given an invalid invoice or false invoice as per 122.1.
Sir, so my only point is section 31 continues to apply, right? So my date will always trigger as per 31 and time of supply.
Correct.
So
but सर अगर लेटर डेट में मैंने IRN जनरेट कर दिया तो जो IRN जनरेट मेरा इनवॉइस डेट तो वो का वही रहेगा, बट IRN में लेटर डेट पे जनरेट कर रहा हूँ तो माय टैक्स इनवॉइस रिमेन्स द सेम. देयर इज नो चेंज इन द डेट और इनवॉइस नंबर, ओनली IRN इज जनरेटेड ऑन अ लेटर डेट. सो दे हैव नॉट मेंशन्ड एनीवेयर कि IRN.
So, but point is default is there for 6 months, right? It's not incorrect. It may be deficient, but it's not incorrect. So 122.1. So there are two clauses. So we are not touching 25,000, but we are touching the 10,000 one.
Which clause are?
First,
122.1.
subclause 1.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So it's not falling, it's not a false. See, without supply, without issue, any invoice or issuance invalid or false. So there was invoice, it was.
I'll tell you where this is going. 31 prescribes that you need to issue a tax invoice within the prescribed period. Like for goods or service. Now, for a tax invoice to be in place, the prescription is the content should be in 46, and the manner of issuance for invoice is under 48. 48.5 states that if e-invoice is applicable to you and you issue an invoice without in the manner following the invoice manner, so that whatever you have issued is not an invoice at all. So in that case, you will be violation of 46 and 51 and therefore 122.1.
So there is no specific.
Invoice is there, it's reflecting in my GST 1 also. Party is able to say to me also. Still, I am saying that there is no invoice.
Yes,
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what we are fighting it out. So though technically no time limit for e-invoice has been prescribed, but indirectly it replaces the normal invoice. No specific time limit for e-invoice is there, but it specifically replaces the e-invoice with the tax invoice. So same time limit would be applicable for that also.
Let's in case of tax invoice with IRN.
Yes, exactly. Because if you go to Rule 46, it says that INRI is one of the important component of the tax invoice.
So ideally, along with invoice, we have to say to it.
Yes.
Should be done.
Correct.
It's on live basis.
Live basis.
Live basis.
On real time.
As and
basis.
when goods are dispatched.
Yeah.
Correct.
Dynamic in किया enter मार के साथ में
Deepali madam wants to add.
Hello.
Yeah. Bolo.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, there is a proviso to section 31 which says that there are government by way of notification will issue, the manner in which certain taxpayers have to issue the invoice. So
Correct.
this e-invoicing was issued under this proviso. So it is as good as tax invoice. So all the rules and regulations applicable to tax invoice will be applicable to e-invoice completely.
Correct.
So even the penalty on the 122 subsection 1 will apply. So 10,000 penalty will apply.
Okay.
Even if it's only IRN is pending, but still once e-invoice is applicable to you, matlab tax invoice should be with the IRN. And it is as good as invoice issued delayedly.
So you are referring to proviso provided that government may on recommendation of council specify category of goods or service in respect of which a tax. No, not this one.
Which proviso you are talking this proviso of 31?
Yeah, 31 ka proviso is there now. Okay, by recommendation.
Not in respect of e-invoice. That is only in respect of goods or services. That in respect of specified goods or services, the invoice has to be issued in some different manner.
Like banking 45
right.
days.
So that is not in respect of this specific category of taxpayers.
So the class of taxpayers not defined. The
Yeah.
class of goods or services are being defined.
So that is not in respect of e-invoice.
Okay.
So now $1 million question, what 122.1
Yeah,
or 125?
125.
Let's conclude that.
But at least everyone agrees कि कुछ तो there is some infraction.
नहीं कुछ नहीं वो है तो बहुत clear cut है.
So yeah, anyone wants to and per invoice. So I am inclined to go for 22.1 10,000, and I am afraid to say that it is for every invoice. If anyone has other view, or we can go ahead. Yeah, so we'll go ahead. 10,000 per invoice.
25,000 is also per invoice.
It's per default. Sir.
Per default.
Let's say you're defaulting in 3 weeks for 1 year. Would you be paying late fee only for the entire 1 year at one go, or paying late fee for
Ajay Bhai's contention is that I have defaulted in not issuing the invoice, e-invoice. That is a one default. irrespective of the number of invoices.
For one
That is-
period, 6 months.
That is his argument. The default is what? My default is not issuance of the e-invoice. So that is
of a supply.
in respect, no. That is in respect of my default is in respect of e-invoice, not following that. So that is one default. So I will pay only one penalty. That is what he is trying to say.
Of course.
So how to come out of
So
that?
I know him personally. That's why.
So you won't believe, I will share on a personal note. I'm filing an appeal for my cousin who has got a tax difference in that 1 3 जो आज आपसे पढ़ notice around 3 to 4,000. He's practically contesting just the penalties. और टैक्स तो ठीक है, वो 3-4,000 भर दूंगा, वो फालतू में ये 50,000 का पेनल्टी लगाया, so what is this nonsense यार? Tax I'm liable to fight 5,000, and penalty I'm liable to 50,000. What is this?
50,000 for what?
There was a default that he had, I haven't gone through the details, but he's got an order that there is a penalty which is much more than the tax itself.
So going ahead, taking the same case forward, non-issuance or delayed issuance of e-invoices happened. Of course, when goods were dispatched, e-way bills were created. And now the question is, since that is not an invoice as per 48.5, the person in charge of the conveyance, basically the driver, was not carrying a valid e-invoice. He was just carrying the tax invoice which was issued by the accounting software. So now question is, can the department also come to say that you have defaulted in the e-way bill provisions also, saying that penalty for moving goods without the cover of an invoice, and therefore you will attract a penalty of 10,000 or the tax which sought to be evaded. So of course, same argument continues that there is no tax which is evaded, but again 10,000 aega, and this is per default.
But that should be at the time of transportation.
So during transportation, goods were not caught.
Subsequently,
Okay.
वो तो तभी लगाएगा ना पेनल्टी.
वो तो मालूम होगा तो ना.
मालूम है.
पकड़ के किया है. I've got a live case where goods were caught along with the tax invoice and e-way bill. They checked the GST number on the portal. It was enabled for e-invoicing and the confiscated goods. That was not moving under the cover of an e-invoice, and hence the goods were liable for confiscation. And there was an intent to evade payment of taxes. In their mind, they're thinking that you would have cancelled this invoice once the goods reach the destination.
कांतिलाल जी, वहां तो उनको दो ही सेक्शन, एक सेक्शन याद रख, रूल याद रखना है 138 और दूसरा ये पेनल्टी 120 या 120, बाकी तो कुछ याद रखना ही नहीं है.
Even otherwise, when they come for audit at a later point in time, they'll see the invoices are more than this 50,000 limit, and they'll compare. आपने e-way bill बनाया क्या नहीं? That time they'll come to know.
नहीं compare कर सकता है. But that time you can't levy penalty for the.
इसका पेनल्टी नहीं लगाएगा ना कि e-way bill जब भी when the goods were transported, at that time you don't have that. In transit, तभी ये पेनल्टी नहीं लगा.
So my point is, this is happening after. पकड़ा नहीं गया माल, माल पहुंच गया है. अभी आज खड़े हैं अक्टूबर में जब डिपार्टमेंट ऑफिशियल्स आए हैं, and now he is saying that तुमने you moved the goods without the cover of invoice, so now you pay penalty. So whether this penalty can be triggered?
No, that's difficult.
Anyone online wants to share their views? Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
नहीं, पर अभी जब आ रहे जीएसटी ऑफिसर्स तभी तो ई इनवॉइस जनरेटेड है, राइट? सो इट कैन बी से कि इट इज विदाउट एनी कवर ऑफ एनी इनवॉइस. इनवॉइस तो है मेरे पास, जस्ट दैट ई इनवॉइस मैंने बाद में किया.
No, but
like Keval sir told that it's just a defect, procedural defect in the invoice. That's why it's just a procedure lapse. But invoice तो है मेरे पास, and when they are, this penalty should be only applicable when the goods are in transit. मतलब जब goods जा रहे तब मेरे पास e-invoice है, then I can see we can levy penalty of 10,000 per invoice. But when they are coming for as an audit or something, how can they levy this penalty? Okay, अभी तो मेरे पास e-invoicing है सब. They didn't catch me while transporting the goods to the destination.
So I just wanted to refer to the section where it says that it has to be caught during the transit.
That's an important
14.
ये बिल लाने का नहीं इसमें. Ajna 129, right?
129.
For this, where it says this moving without cover.
122.14.
Oh yeah. 122.14. 122.1.14. Transports any taxable goods without the cover of documents as may be specified in this behalf. So nowhere they are saying that it has to be done during.
Only thing the revenue has to prove that you have transported without the cover of the proper tax instruction.
And which can easily be proved because I have uploaded invoice on 5th.
So had I issued a kacha invoice, transported the goods, thereafter issued a backdated tax invoice, nobody would have caught. इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ऑडिट ट्रेल लेके आती है.
Yes.
स्टैट ऑडिट में ऑडिट ट्रेल का रीजन यही पे.
So that is where the issue lies.
But is it actually without a cover of any invoice? Because see, I have already issued invoice, though I have not done the e-invoicing. It's just a procedure defect in the invoice. Can you levy penalty because of that?
Vasudev, we are coming back to question
48.5.
So section 31 states that you need to issue a tax invoice in the manner prescribed. The manner has been prescribed in 48, which states you have to issue e-invoice. And very clearly in 48.5 they are putting it forth that if you are not issuing e-invoice, any other invoice is not treated as an invoice at all. They are being very categorical on that front. So you have to challenge the very validity of 48.5 itself. Challenging the penalty provision is not the answer, I think, over here, in my humble view. But challenging the validity of 48 itself, or 48.5, could be something that one may think about.
Because
but sir, I just have one question, sir. Sir, for incorrect invoicing also levying penalty of 10,000 per invoice. Now for going to some other section कि तुमने transport नहीं किया invoice तो उसमें अलग से 10,000. So then you have some similar 2-3 sections कि उसमें बोला कि invoice में नहीं हुआ तो you have to apply 10,000 for that also. So whether that has to be applied cumulatively कि मतलब एक साथ 10,000 ले लो कि सबके लिए अलग-अलग 10,000 they collected.
Oh, you have a very good offer for the government, but unfortunately, taxpayer is one and penalty are numerous.
Multiple. So my point being, see, in 129 they talk of detention, seizure, and release of conveyance in transit. You are nowhere they are saying transit. So that is why this 10,000 also I am afraid के वो लोग apply कर सकते हैं. In spite of us arguing that they never caught us during the act.
Okay. Thank you.
On a lighter note, have you ever been caught driving a vehicle without license, your registration certificate, insurance, and PUC? And I said, I seatbelt का fine लगा दो. Officially, no, not the unofficial, officially.
No, sir, we are not caught.
I had to reasoning with him over there, sir. I am not driving with proper documents, ना. Document नहीं है with proper. एक ही लगाओ आप.
मेरे पास लाइसेंस नहीं है, PUC नहीं है, इंश्योरेंस का कॉपी नहीं है, तो 3 पेनल्टी देना पड़ेगा कि एक ही देनी पड़ेगी?
ऐसा है, प्रॉब्लम वही है.
That is also provision.
That is confiscation of the vehicle.
Mr. Subramanian.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Say you told me that this is only after transit, correct?
Yeah, this is done after transit.
Suppose if it is during the transits, what will happen, sir? If the during the transit, suppose if it is not supported by invoice, e-invoice, what will happen?
Sir, section 129 would apply, and right now it is 200% penalty of the tax for 10,000, which is higher.
Okay.
So that problem will arise there. So if it is caught during transit, we have a separate section.
Correct, section 129. But if you go through section rule, 138A, there also it talks about the invoice or bill of supply or delivery challan as the case may be, and a copy of the e-way bill. Document and devices to be carried by a person in charge of conveyance.
Correct.
So suppose if I am carrying along with the delivery challan and invoices, then in such a situations, I hope the 200% will not be applicable.
So, but sir, e-invoice is not there. You are just carrying some other tax invoice. So we'll this case I'm taking. I think it's case study number 4. We will discuss this
Okay.
during that time. Then, sir.
So what is your conclusion, sir, for this, that the penalty 10,000 rupees or after
10,000.
principle?
10,000
10,000 for
per default.
10,000 or the tax ought to be evaded?
No, sir, tax can't come because I have already discharged my liability in the return.
Okay.
So I have not evaded any tax.
Okay.
So that evasion is zero.
So
Okay.
what I'm trying to say, during the transit, how you will prove that the tax has not been paid? Because
During transit तो 129 उसमें 200% लगता ही है.
But
there you cannot say that tax is evaded.
There you can't say.
If it is caught, then you can say that there was no tax evasion and only 10,000 maximum.
Post take तो मुझे यहाँ पकड़ेगा ही नहीं ना. How we will prove it?
E-invoicing.
अरे while my goods are in transit, पर मैं तभी ठीक है पकड़ा, लेकिन वो देर जो प्रोविजन है वो for transit के लिए है. 14 में उसको पेनल्टी लगानी है ना. क्या 129(14) कौन सा वो सेक्शन इन्वोक करेगा पेनल्टी लगाने के लिए? उसको 129(14) इन्वोक करेगा, वो बोलता है ट्रांजिट के लिए, तो he cannot levy. He can levy only under one case. Yes. That's why it cannot be levied afterwards.
I believe Mr. Ravindra wants to share his views. Sir, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just want to know, for the same offense, can you be penalized under various rules and sections for the same offense? Is it constitutional?
Sir, there are two offenses, two separate offenses. So for first, we are saying that 122(1), it is basically where supplies happened without issuance of an invoice. So that is the first default. Second default is e-way bill is made and goods have been carried without the cover of an invoice.
No. My offense is one that I have not issued the e-way bill. But can you frame laws to say that I have murdered somebody, so I should be hanged twice?
Correct, sir. You're referring to double jeopardy, right?
No, sir. In that case, I'll tell you what are the two different sections that are levied upon you. That is, one is the attempt to murder, and the other is criminal assault. So there are two separate offenses over there also. Over here, your two offenses would be supplying goods without an invoice and transporting goods without invoice.
Yeah, but supply includes transportation also. No? Without transportation, the supply cannot happen.
No, sir. No, why?
Of course, the goods, when you say, if you read the meaning of English, what is supply? Unless I transport the goods and give it to you, there is no supply.
No, sir. Sir, I can supply X factory, right? Like if someone comes to my shop and I just hand him the goods over, my job, my risk and reward is transferred. My sale is completed.
Yeah. So in that case, if it is X factory, do I have to? Is it a different issue or not? This case, I have not issued the goods X factory. I have said I will supply it to the other person. So when supply also includes transportation. So for the same thing, I feel you cannot, by designing the GST rules and laws, punish for twice the thing. Means एक बार 25,000 लगाओ, बाद में 120 ये क्या 122 के नीचे भी लगाओ.
Correct.
I got your point, sir. Yeah.
Sir, the only thing is that at a lower side, it will be very difficult to argue. Then one has to move to the High Court, and then only it is possible.
Yeah. So is there a chance of fighting it out at High Court or a Supreme Court level? That is my question.
I think you can try it out.
In fact,
but
10,000 penalty can definitely be fought out.
Yeah, we can at least argue any appeal at least.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you. I think we'll go ahead, take case study number 2. This is a very small case study. Basically, with this case study, what I'm trying to bring out is there is an exemption of e-invoicing to certain class of taxpayers, such as goods transport agents, banking companies, etc. So now the question is this exemption qua the nature of supply or the entity as a whole? First, I'll take the views, then I'll go in this further. So anyone has a view? It is qua registered person.
Squad.
So qua dealer. So now, if you say that it is qua dealer, so qua entity. So the FAQ also, if you refer to the FAQ also clearly states that it is for the entity as a whole. Now let's take a scenario where we have a large logistics company. He is doing GTS service also, and also providing warehousing, also providing other movement, other type of services. Then as a whole, is he exempted from e-invoicing? Can the intention be such? Say I am taking an example of V-Trans. V-Trans is doing everything. Logistics service सब कुछ करता है. Now, just because one portion of my business, one large portion of my business is GTA, can you say that I am absolved from e-invoicing as a whole? Because the exemption is very specific.
Other than the GTS service.
No, because
you are saying it's by service and not by registered person.
Because it says exempts the certain class of taxpayers, and then they list out certain taxpayers. अच्छा ये मेरा PC नहीं है वरना वो नहीं the notification. I thought I would bring out the notification. So I'll just open the notification number. So e-invoice is not applicable to supplies made by the following registered person, and then it says SCZ, insurer, banking company, NBFC, GTA, passenger transport service, admission to cinema hall, OIDAR, government. And then there is a FAQ number 20, where specifically the question is asked, the exemption from e-invoicing is with respect to the nature of supply or transaction, or with respect to the entity. The answer given is it is with respect to the entity. So then does it really make sense? Because then the logic of going out of fake invoicing and all that goes away. इसमें मैं फिर एक भी transaction कर दूं GTA का, फिर मैं बोलूँगा नहीं ये invoice applicable. So Ashit bhai was, when we were discussing, he was saying that you take your, when taking registration, you are mentioning 5 major services and 5 major activities of goods that you are active. उसमें 5 में GTA आ गया तो, so उसमें भी let's say I am doing only 3 activities, तो मैं तो तीनों तीन डाल रहा हूँ, तो फिर क्या? Anyone has a view online? When FAQ में there is a disclosure, not to be taken as legal opinion.
That is always there. So if we take the holistic view of the whole story of e-invoicing, so it says that it is applicable to the registered specific class of registered person, and from that specific class of registered person, certain class of person is exempted, right? So it is very much clear that it is applicable only to the registered person. Having said so, from that registered person, if certain activities are such which are in the nature which doesn't cover, then one has to forget it, right? Or other way around, say for example, if a trader is there and if he is involved in the other warehousing activity, then also he has to issue the tax in e-invoice. Other way around, or a transport services, then also he has to do it. We cannot say that. So this is the, I think transport is the only activity which can be done through any other thing. Otherwise, if we see the whole business, then very few such kind of instances are there. So holistically, if we see, then the intention is very clear. It is by way of a class of registered person only.
Because what I've noticed is, like V-Trans I was saying, uska invoice aata hai, even though they are largely into GTA. So probably they must have taken a conservative view, but the exemption, if you read it as a whole, then it is for a class of person. If there is nothing online, can be. Yes, sir.
Having a tempo and charging delivery charge to whom I am delivering the goods with my tempo. If I do not deliver with my tempo, and the person then am I Legal charges, am I supposed to charge GST separately, or will it be covered by the?
It is part of the transaction value. It is part of the transaction.
So you are a
value.
businessman doing the business of chemical, and you have one tempo for which you are using it for transporting the goods from to the customer. Now, during one of the case, you have used your transport for transporting the goods, and for that matter, you charged him separately, say 1,000 rupees. So now your question, if I have rightly understood, that 1,000 rupees will partake the character of the goods or a service separately. Am I right? That means transport pay you want to levy 5% tax, or the tax would be at the rate of applicable rate, which is to the goods. Main supply.
So basically the contract, you have to look at the contract. If contract was with delivery, then main supply, if it is 12% or 12%, 5% or 5%. Composite supply. So now we are done with e-invoicing. If we have nothing in e-invoicing, further we will take go to e-way bill. Here also I've tried to take practical cases only. So now we have MSPL, which is situated a registered party located at Nanded, Maharashtra. It is dispatching certain goods to Tamil Nadu on the 1st of August 2022. Now, first scenario is such that now goods have been dispatched on the 1st of August. Goods have reached Trichy, and the customer is now refusing to unload the consignment on account saying that, I don't have place in my factory. So, and it will take me around 4 days. The validity of the e-way bill will expire in a few hours. Now, in this particular scenario, how are you going to deal with this? Because it is not economically viable for MSPL to bring the goods back all the way to Maharashtra. And this is very practical. This happens in normal course of business. That now the guy says, "Bhai nahi utar paunga, jagah nahi hai, 4 din lagega." What is to be done in this case? What documentation needs to be taken in place? Yes, the floor is open.
Typically, in these cases, what happens is the goods are taken to the transporter's warehouse, and they are kept at the transporter's warehouse till the time the respective party says now we can send the goods. So there are two ways we can do. At the upfront, if you were aware about these facts, you could have made the e-way bill only up to the transporter's warehouse. Once the goods have reached the transporter warehouse, subsequently you could have made another invoice from the transporter warehouse to the factory location of this, right? Now, here, if let's say when you made the e-way bill, the ultimate factory address was put in and the goods reached the transporter's warehouse, that should also not create much of an issue.
Okay.
I'm not very sure, was there a circular which specifically deals with that from transporter's warehouse to factory location? That movement can happen without any or something.
That exemption is there.
But so table A has to be filled, table B does not need to be filled. So that was there if it is within 50 kilometers and all that, that is there. But now my single question here is, if I am storing the goods at the transporter's warehouse, and of course he is going to be charging me some amount for it.
Correct.
It will be of course equivalent to some rent. Now, can you say that it is a fixed establishment in that state? If it becomes a fixed establishment, then I am in a world of pain. Registration mechanism, everything gets triggered. So that problem is always there in these scenarios when it goes back to a transporter's hub. Now, here he is saying 4 days. Of course, this is an estimate. It can be stretching to 10 days also. But there is no reasonable period where I can say that I'm storing at a transporter's warehouse. So in this scenario, what can you still continue to say? Can you say it is a fixed establishment first?
No, I would not feel it's a fixed establishment because except for having those goods temporarily placed there, and that too for the specific reason, the goods have been kept there, it shouldn't be treated as a fixed establishment. In fact, there are a lot of advance rulings specifically on this count, where let's say imported goods from the port, they were stored at the port for some days, and from there was a sale which was made. So the question which was asked is, do I need a registration there? And rightly so, the advance ruling in all these cases held that you don't need a registration. It's only the place where you are registered, you are effectively making a sale from there only. It's just physically being kept at some place for some business reasons, I would say, commercial reasons, and therefore that should not trigger a fixed test.
Now, the only problem that I foresee here is for all these advance rulings, these were kept in custom bonded warehouses.
Both ways, transporter warehouse also there are this.
Correct, but predominantly I didn't have any place there. But now here I am in the middle of nowhere, let's say. There is a sufficient degree of permanence to the place because warehouse hai, transporter warehouse. I am in a position to receive goods or service because I am receiving rent warehousing services. So can it be said that that fixed establishment definition is fulfilled? Anyone online wants to share?
Even if fixed establishment is triggered, I wouldn't say the sale is effectively made from there. I would still feel the sale has happened from Mumbai.
No, because for goods, location of is there. No, for service is there. Correct.
Includes go down itself.
It includes. It will include. It will.
So even if I have a rented warehouse, or the partial warehouse where I have some
space.
Then in that case, I think I can add.
No, but this is outside the state. Problem is this is outside the state. We are in Tamil Nadu.
In fact, in these type
number
in these type of arrangement, lot of department authorities are denying registration. जैसे आप देखोगे ना Amazon warehouses, here you don't have an earmark space.
That's why.
And distributors wants to register that as an warehouse, but they are not allowing.
Registration in Tamil Nadu from sale.
No, so in your case, it must be a allocated fixed place is there.
No, not alone. There are other also, but they have said that it will be separately.
So that's what I'm saying. Separate place has been earmarked for your goods. Then it's a different story. What Keval is saying that no, it's a pure renting of property. Wherever the place will be available, in such a scenario, is termed as a fixed establishment because there is no permanent.
So, but now the problem is Amazon, like I said, is forcing everyone to take registration. And they are getting, मतलब कुछ न कुछ करके they are getting
but
it.
Not at the place of the transporter. They are saying
no at Amazon warehouse,
yeah,
Amazon fulfillment center.
So there they are earmarking the place that this is the place, and then on that basis the registration is. So it would be very difficult to say that this is a fixed establishment.
Okay.
Mr. Subramanian wants to.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, as rightly concluded that there is no fixed establishment, my question is that the destination is over, correct? Here, the transporter, they reached the destination. So even if the e-way bill is expired, whether they can, further they can, extend the e-way bill because destination is over. They reached the factory, correct?
Yeah. So, sir, extension can only be done, I believe, within 8 hours of its expiry. So, one extension is done. See, of course, we have a provision which said that you can approach the commissioner in case of certain situations, and the commissioner can grant extension of e-way bill. Now, that being said, you can't approach practically. You can't keep on approaching because this is a very regular thing. All these large corporate factories, they always work in just-in-time kind of thing, and sometimes so overestimation में ज़्यादा माल आ जाता है. So they don't. They're like you keep the truck waiting outside the premises, or you ask them to take it back to the warehouse of the transporter. So in these scenarios, what are you to do? Because approaching commissioner every time is not practical. Getting appointment or getting at least an acknowledgement also is very rare. Anyone else wants to share their view?
Oh my God, excellent.
You have mentioned 4 days, but if you say that I don't know when I have to.
Yeah, correct. So Keval by saying extension may there has to be some limits. Here in the case study created, it says 4 days. But let's say I don't know when the place will be there. Then what is to be done? And let's agree, let's say that this transporter warehouse is not a fixed establishment and you took it, then what documentation needs to be done? Because now the goods have reached the factory. So first movement would be from factory to transporter warehouse. From transporter warehouse again you will have to go back. So is there some other delivery challan or something which is required, which needs to be made for movement? Even though part B is may not be needed, but part A is at least needed. So those details like invoice or delivery challan number, date, value, tax, everything needs to be put. So then what documentation needs to be done? Anyone? For taking first goods from factory, Trichy factory to transporter hub, and then from transporter hub back to factory for unloading. Can you issue a delivery challan? In any other situation where it is not supply in that category, will it fall? So I believe that is the only option per se available if we were to say that transporter warehouse is not a fixed establishment. Ashit bhai, your views?
Yeah, I think transporter place cannot be said to be a fixed establishment, and through delivery challan only the goods will go to the transporter's place. That is the only solution which is available.
Okay, so if there is nothing, we'll just add a little bit complication in this same scenario. So in scenario B.
No, so Umang,
yeah,
important point.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, since the goods are returning, now it will go to the transporter's place.
Yes.
Now from there, still after 4 days or 7 days, if it has not been picked up, the e-way bill time limit has naturally been expired, right? Now the option would be you have to take the goods back to your place. At that point of time, how you will deal with that is, I think, your main question.
Third scenario.
A, B, C man.
C man.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but there it says it's a cancel the purchase order. Why it would be distinguished? There here it doesn't say cancel the purchase.
So now in a scenario
here you are suo moto saying that I am now returning back the goods. In the third issue, you are saying that someone else's instruction, your buyer's instruction, you are taking back the. So there will be a two different situations.
So now in this scenario, if eventually after 4 days also this factory is saying no, and now for whatever reason I now need to take the goods back. Now how is this to be done? First question is, can a credit note be passed? Is it allowed to pass a credit note within the provisions of the Act? I will. So it is not a supply, which is agreed. But if you refer to section 34.
I think one of the circular clarified. I don't remember.
No, but credit note has to be issued under section 34, right? So you have to check whether the condition is fulfilled or not, or not
Issuance
issuance of credit note.
So where one or more tax invoice have been issued for supply of any goods or service or both, and the taxable value or tax charged in that tax invoice is found to exceed the taxable value or tax payable in respect of such supply, or where the goods supplied are returned by the recipient, or where person who has supplied such goods or both may issue to the recipient one or where the goods or service or both are supplied are found to be deficient, the registered person who has supplied such goods or service or both may issue to the recipient one or more credit note for supplies made in a financial year containing such particulars as may be prescribed. Now question is, can you say that goods supplied are returned by the recipient? Because here he is not accepted, it's not returned.
It's not a concluded transaction.
Not fructified. But it's not returned because he is not booking in his books.
He will never issue any document.
He will not even say कि नहीं नहीं ये तुम्हारा ये I am not booking. He won't book. He won't pass debit note also. So then can you issue a credit note? तो फिर कैसे लाओगे?
I think you can.
Can even accepted invoice itself, how can
आप क्रेडिट नोट एक्सेप्ट करोगे बराबर है, तो सामने वाले को डेबिट, आप क्रेडिट नोट इश्यू करोगे, सामने वाले को डेबिट नोट भी आना चाहिए, तो ही आप आपका
ऐसा जरूरी
नहीं, नॉट रिक्वायर्ड
सर,
करेक्ट सर लेट मी टेल यू, आप क्रेडिट नोट में से आपका टैक्स कम कर रहे हो, तो वन ऑफ द कंडीशन इज दैट यू टू एंश्योर दैट द अदर पर्सन हैज नॉट टेकन द क्रेडिट ऑफ द सेम. हाउ यू विल एस्टैब्लिश दैट?
GST और 2A में जाए रिवर्स हो.
अरे उसका कहाँ आएगा?
Sir, I am just reading section 34 once again. It says where one or more tax invoices have been issued for supply of any goods or services or both, and the taxable value or tax charge in that tax invoice is found to exceed the taxable value or tax payable in respect of such supply. So if I am able to say that actually there is no tax payable because we say there is no supply, then the taxable value which I have declared in the invoice has exceeded the actual tax payable. Therefore, I can issue a credit. I need not go to that return, because it says or where the goods supplied are returned by the recipient, or where they are found to be deficient. Then the registered person may issue the recipient one or more credit notes.
So keval then it is like extra exceeded the tax bill. Something extra charge. You zero, I charge 100.
Exactly. Then only you can do it. You cannot say I have wrongly charged you 100 rupees. Now it is not like that.
So can department in fact retain this tax?
See, that is a different perspective. First of all, whether this credit note can be issued or not. I feel Section 34, no, you cannot. Because if they wanted to say like that, they will say that yes, credit note can also be issued for non-completed transaction or for cancellation of invoice. That they are not saying, and rightly so. And rightly so. Because what do we mean by credit note? That any kind of adjustment later on which you are making, that has to be through some document. And that's why they are putting this thing. That if say I have put 1000 quantity, but in reality the goods has been 900 quantity. So there is a difference. There you issue a credit note, or there is a price change, you can issue a credit note. But not under the circumstances in which you are referring that there is no supply, therefore also I will issue credit note.
In fact, sir, a lot of these ERP system, especially SAP, invoice which is created on this SAP can never be cancelled.
I understand.
So it has to be reversed by some document.
Correct. Right? So that would
books and reversing for GST
both will be different. They are saying it's a financial credit note.
Yeah.
See, that's why there is a distinction. Now, credit note means what? There are two kinds of credit note. One is the credit note as under the GST law, and another credit note is the financial credit note.
So same example, let's say I raise an invoice of 10,000 rupees plus GST, and for a service which never happened or which was not supposed to happen, or maybe goods which were never supplied. How do I reverse that in an SAP? If I say financial credit note, I am saying no tax in that.
Of course, you have to issue the financial credit note. GST credit note you cannot issue.
So then in that case, in this books of accounts, there will be always some tax payable as far as the invoice is concerned.
See, that books of account and law both are different things. Yes,
no, but
we have to try to exactly. I am coming to that. We have to try to comply with the law. But if because of my accounting software is such, then that doesn't have make any solution for that.
No, so my one argument was
I agree to that, because in what many of the software, this ERP, such kind of systems are not there. But then you have to issue the financial credit.
You have to close the transaction, like, because you cannot say there is something GST pay in the books of account which is not there.
So one argument that I would like to make is it is not a supply because the sale has not been completed. Correct? And technically, government cannot retain this tax because since supply has not happened, they cannot retain this tax. Now I need to adjust in some way or manner. Going for refund every time also does not make sense. It's not practical. So, and in my books, I have to pass a credit note because I'm not going to just delete the invoice. So then, in spite of this not being within the confines of law, I will be forced to pass a credit note.
Yeah, that is a financial credit note. No one will stop you.
No, but then how do I adjust the tax amount in
that is the crux of the matter. See, if within the month, if you have issued the invoice, then naturally you know that this is wrongly issued. So within the same month, you will reverse it. So there is no issue. Here it is an afterthought transaction.
That in GST. How do I report that in GST?
You will say it is here you will say it is my invoice is cancelled. That you can very well do it.
Yeah,
Why it is cancelled? Because it is no sale. There is no supply. There is no supply, so there is no, you have inadvertently issue an invoice, right? That so you can reduce it. But after 2 months or 3 months period of time, now you wake up, अरे ये तो मेरे गलती से invoice कर दिया. That is not the case. Correct. That's why the credit note concept has come, and there you cannot take a stand that now I will issue a credit note.
Well, in that case, there will be loss. Like suppose that the transaction is happened at the end of the month.
Hello?
Hello. And this 4 days.
Yeah, wait.
Hello?
You can.
Then there will be issue. Because the person.
Yeah. That these all are the practical difficulties which we are. Facing. So for future, so who will tell future? I cannot say the future.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There is two scenario. One is that what we are discussing was that material e-way bill is already generated, tax invoice is already generated, and it is returning from the client because he has not accepted. In that case, that is already recorded in you, even in a government portal. So how to reverse that on their record, this transaction?
Sir, that only we were discussing. So practically, we are passing credit note.
We are diverted on an incorrect invoicing, but here invoice is already generated. E-way bill is generated, invoice is generated, and now you are getting it back. And everything is there on a record of government. So now how will reverse the record of government?
So, sir, that only we were trying to discuss, that practically everyone is passing a credit note and getting the goods back, so that since supply is not completed, tax is not payable to the government, and that is why we are returning the goods also back and tax is being adjusted. But if we were to strictly refer to section 34, then there is a problem saying that we cannot issue a credit note.
And second part is that on supposing on 30th September, this is real time case. On 30th September, e-invoice was generated, e-way bill was generated, but even after 2 days, no movement has happened, and now that transaction is cancelled, and that is already uploaded in GSTR1. Even e-way bill is generated, tax invoice is also generated. How to handle this transaction reversal?
Sir, but so within 72 hours, samne wala can cancel.
No, it was not done. It is after 5th. It is came to know. Okay, by still no movement has happened.
Sir, nothing can be done. Honestly, e-way bill is only to be made prior to the movement of goods. Even if invoice is cut, e-invoice not to be made. E-way bill can only be made prior to the movement of the goods.
That is true. So e-way bill is made prior to, but then a lorry didn't come or something happened that for 5 days no movement happened.
In fact, on all these cases, practically what we should do is we should write to the department explaining that these are the facts of the case and this is what has already happened, and all of this may help you in future to save on the penalty part.
Yeah,
you will have to intimate to the department.
Writing is one thing, but it has gone into portal. So now how to
reverse so that's the problem. It will remain unaccounted online only, because see, honestly, I'm just telling you, say I'll tell you that books mein credit note kar do or e-way bill maro, that cannot function, because now department has RFIDs in place. They are in a position to track FASTag, and through that toll plazas they can track the exact movement of that lorry. So even if you were to just say that ye lorry gaya tha, it is not so simple. They are in a position to track everything. In fact, when investigation is happening, randomly they will check the number on Vahan and say, "Arey, ye to scooter hai. Aapka 16 ton ka maal kaise gaya?" So that is to the extent that they are going. So it is better that you write to them because this will remain open, saying that this supply has not happened. And
no, but what has happened is it is already gone in GSTR1. Now how to reverse it?
Sir, GSTR1 कैसे जाएगा? 11 तारीख को आपको भरना है, 5th को आपको पता चला।
30th सितंबर का 11 अक्टूबर को चला गया ना सर।
लेकिन आपको तो 5 तारीख को पता चल गया ना सर।
5 तारीख को पता चला, मगर क्लाइंट ने इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं दिया, जब फाइल किया तब तक भी नहीं बताया।
तो कुछ
अभी करे क्या?
अभी कुछ नहीं, टैक्स भरो अभी और नेक्स्ट मंथ
only the
11 को रात को अपलोड के बाद 11 बजे के बाद 12 बजे बोलता है ये
12 बजे फोन किया कि अभी एक गलती से चला गया है। वेरी ट्रू, सबके साथ होता है, हमारे साथ बराबर है सर। द ओनली ऑप्शन अवेलेबल वुड बी इन माय व्यू, आपको नेक्स्ट मंथ में वो इनवॉइस कैंसिल कर दीजिए। जो ई-वे बिल में चला गया है और क्या ई इनवॉइस बन गया है, तो जस्ट केवल सर हैज सेड दैट यू राइट इट टू द डिपार्टमेंट दैट दिस इज द मूवमेंट हैज नॉट बीन डन and erroneously this has been issued. That is the only practical suggestion which I think we can give.
So under amendment I should cancel it?
Yes, in GSTR1 in the next month you have to cancel it.
Okay, thank you.
अभी
सर एक मिनट पहले उनको तो कह दे। हाँ अभी आता है क्यों आपको जीरो कर सकते हो ना नेक्स्ट मंथ में अमेंडमेंट,
एक पैसा
या जीरो वैल्यू कर सकते हो। हाँ सर बोलिए। So this is the
how to bring back the goods. Suppose assuming that you are telling me that to cancel the invoice, I cancelled the invoice, and GSTR1 also made an
amendment.
Amendment. Then how to bring the goods then?
Sir, in
assuming that
sir, in that gentleman's case, the goods have never moved. Only the documents has been prepared, but the goods have not been moved. So that's why this advice. Now you are saying that goods has also been moved, but the other party has not accepted the goods, and that party is not willing to give any document of returning the goods. Now what is to be done? I think that is your question. Hello.
Yes sir.
Yeah, this is the question. If I
on reaching the factory in Trichy.
Okay, so now it's a very difficult situation. Once the goods has been reached there, that means the transaction has been concluded. But unfortunately, the other party will not be giving you any document. So you have to try to push for the documents from the buyer side, that he will give you some document which says that now I am giving it back to the goods to you. But in real life situation, no one gives that, because they will never say, मैंने तो मेरे को books में record ही नहीं करना है, so I will never give you.
I can also move on the basis of delivery.
No, you can move it, but what you will say? It's a return of goods. Where? So who will say that this is a return of? Just a second. How you will prove that there is a return? You have to accept it. Suppose if I have sent the goods, you will say that I have returned the goods. You are not ready to part me with a single letter.
No, I am saying it's not a return. But when we talk about e-way bill, it's basically for movement of
e-way bill will be done. E-way bill, no issue.
So in the first place, now if you actually look at the trail of entire documents, first I raised the tax invoice. On the basis of the tax invoice, there was an e-way bill, which effectively resulted in the movement, and there is an adequate document to show that the goods have actually moved from this place to that place.
True.
I am still the owner of the goods and in possession of the goods. Now from there, I have to bring back those goods to my own factory. I can generate a delivery challan, and I can create an e-way bill which can say dispatch from X location to my own factory. And that documentation is sufficient.
Perfect. Now in books, how you will reverse it? That is the question. And in your GSTR1, what you will say? Now, that is the challenge. Yeah, so that is the challenge, Keval.
So
in e-way bill, you can do that.
In e-way bill, in fact, we have an option which says rejected by buyer. E-way bill में क्या option है? Rejected by buyer. There is some rejected, there is some place.
For rejection also we need credit note. Without that delivery challan we cannot say it's rejected.
Rejected, you cannot use that word. Rejected means that person has said, I don't want your goods. Accept ही नहीं किया तो reject कैसा करेगा? तो यहाँ अपने को इंग्लिश वर्ड की डिक्शनरी के साथ बैठना पड़ेगा.
सर नहीं तो उसमें ये तो बोल ही सकते हैं ना सर कि 3 दिन में he has not rejected the e-way bill, so he declined afterwards.
यहाँ एक और भी बताया, which is very, I would say, challenging. कि जब ये ऐसे होता है, तभी you have to issue one more invoice which says that this invoice is as the sale has happened on sale or approval basis. So the transaction has not been fructified or completed, but very difficult to prove that this is a sale on approval, because for non-approval also some documents are required. So it's a very challenging thing.
There is an implied rejection, because you see in 72 hours they have not declined the e-way bill.
So that presupposes that they have accepted. So that they have accepted, since they have not done anything, that means they have accepted the transaction.
But tell me something. Tomorrow, if I book let's say iPhone 14 Pro for you on your GST number on Amazon on COD basis, it lands up at your doorstep on that Ghatkopar. What will you do? आपको तो पता भी नहीं आपका GST मैंने use किया है. मुझे मस्ती चटी से मैंने डाल दिया वहाँ पर.
मैं तो ले लूँगा.
Cash on delivery डाला था मैंने इसके लिए. मुझे मालूम है.
Now let's come back because I think we are very late.
Online
Yeah, go ahead, Pradeep bhai.
We spoke about good. In case of services also, this kind of similar situation happens. And in that, most of the time, it is not known till the payments have not been received for in between invoices, and payments are received for subsequent invoices. So when the client inquires with the customer that why this payment has not been made, at that point of time it comes to know that they have rejected the invoice. This is in case of services, and these are actual cases which has happened. So in those cases, there is no e-way bill, nothing is there.
So saving grace is there, that there is no e-way bill.
But after 2-3 months, this information comes, sometimes 2, 3, 4 months. So what is the way out? What is the
services, at least you can argue that it was rejected in sort deficient service.
They have not recorded only.
Sir, deficient service, that person should utter, okay, this is your problem in your services. You have not filed my return on time.
It's more challenging.
It's more challenging. So you cannot say it's a, and on the contrary, you will yourself will say that my services are deficient. एक तो पैसा नहीं देता है, ऊपर से तू बोलेगा मैंने ही सर्विस प्रॉपर नहीं दिया है.
But I think in all case scenarios, practically we will have to revert to credit note only, even though legally it's not allowed.
I think let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead. Just a little bit more complicating scenario B. The same scenario is there. Just that I have found another customer who is few kilometers away and is willing to take the goods. So then what documentation is required to be made to enable him to deliver from customer to customer B instead of customer A? So now truck is lying at Trichy factory outside the gate. That guy has said, no, mere ko 4 din lagega. I called someone else. He said, okay, I will take the goods. I want these goods. So now he is ready to do. Now what documentation should I do so that these goods can move from customer A's premises to customer B? So then do you still pass a credit note?
I had to close earlier transaction to go with the new transaction.
Online logo ko sunne.
Like we had to close earlier transaction by credit note, though not legally but practically, and go with the fresh invoice followed by Eligibility.
But then.
But I want to mention that destination to when dispatch from that we have to monitor.
So in dispatch from, if you were to mention Trichy factory address, can the government come to you saying you are dispatching from this location? Why you don't have any registration?
No, that one. I cannot have my location everywhere in India if I'm dispatching from, because they have given that option in e-bill that bill to ship to dispatch from dispatch. It's just to track this type of transaction.
Or is it better, I would say, that you use your credit note for dispatching? Meaning, credit note mein dispatch from location Trichy, bill to khud ka naam aayega, ship to customer B location. So it shows that I had sent goods to Trichy mein usne nahi liya. So now I am using my credit note and supplying to someone else, and my other invoice is obviously there.
And then the problem is credit note details will be known to the other customer, which I never want.
That is true.
Practical difficulty.
Like for one to close one transaction, we cannot use another invoice to link that.
With that credit note comes another complexity that the department officials ask you to prove that the other person reverses input tax when he has not claimed it in the first place.
Correct. That is more challenging.
So anyone else online has other views? I'm sorry, I'm going faster, but we are already at 6:50 in the interest of time. Yeah. I think someone has written something in chat.
7:15.
Yeah.
I think let's move ahead.
Yeah.
The next issue.
So scenario C now, on the way to Trichy, the goods were somewhere in Karnataka. Raste mein phone aaya Trichy wale factories ke nahi chahiye maal. He cancelled the goods. So being a prudent business guy and also a bona fide business person, I halted the truck. I called the truck driver saying, "Jidhar hai khada reh ja." Now the truck is now halted in Karnataka, somewhere middle of nowhere on the highway. I have two options: either to bring back the goods back to my factory or find a buyer in Karnataka and sell it off. In both scenarios, what documentation needs to be done? How can I bring the goods back, or how can I supply the goods? Because it is middle of nowhere. Some Google pin है random.
I have practically done for one of the cases where the client generated incorrect e-way bill. Goods were caught at the Maharashtra-Gujarat border, and officer sir तो हो गया. He was like, अभी e-way bill generate करूँगा मैं. So right now e-way bill is generated right now, let's say at 7 p.m. And at 7:30 if I am caught in वापी, आधे घंटे मुंबई से वापी कैसे पहुंचा? वो 3 घंटे ड्राइवर बोलो ढाबे में खाना वाना खाए, उसके बाद निकाले वहां से. So find a good location Karnataka which has got some name instead of a Google pin. Put that detail, ask him to wait for an hour, and thereafter start moving the goods.
Okay. Even क्या जवाब?
Practically मत बोला. This is the
तूने रियल टाइम स्टोरी बोला है, यहाँ रियल टाइम नहीं होता है. आप सब होने के बाद पता चलता है. देखो.
हाँ, actually the problem is this.
middle of nowhere.
Correct. But actually practically ये सब फोन अपने को तो 4 दिन के बाद आता है. वो हुआ था, ऐसे हुआ, फिर हो गया. Now second question to this: in addition, is the person in charge of conveyance required to carry physical documents? Because let's agree, let's say that credit note is passed and now I'm getting the goods back to my own premises. Is he required to have physical documentations with him for verification at whatever gate or toll plaza which will come in Karnataka Maharashtra border? If yes, तो मैं कैसे पहुंचा उसको? Because these truck drivers, they don't have smartphone. चलो smartphone है तो भी WhatsApp पे वो दिखाएगा, वो मानेगा सामने वाला, I don't know. So wherever they have said that electronically is allowed, they have specifically mentioned. In e-way bill and all, nowhere they have mentioned. For checking, they have just said that QR code is sufficient. But for something वो QR code scanning के लिए होना चाहिए.
स्कैनिंग के लिए तो उसके बाद डिपार्टमेंट का होना चाहिए. QR कोड दिखाना है.
पर QR कोड कुछ ना कुछ, how do I ensure that? Because these guys in the middle of nowhere, how will I ensure he gets those documents? तो ही move हो सकता है ना document.
If the e-invoice is there, if e-invoice has been prepared from there, right, credit card, then there is no issue, because the number you say to the officer, he will verify online. उसके लिए driver के पास भी smartphone होना जरूरी नहीं है. Now suppose that e-invoice was not there, then how we will say that? Then e-way bill में कभी online तो उसको number दे ही सकते हैं.
But then, so when we come to the next scenario, we will come to see that the driver had misplaced the tax invoice. उसको WhatsApp सब दिखाया, but this guy is saying नहीं, मेरे को physically देखना है tax invoice.
Nothing is mentioned in the law saying that it should be there physically. Then we can argue.
No, 138 says what document
should carry in person लिखा है.
ऐसा नहीं है.
So that is the problem.
ऐसा नहीं चलेगा पीछे वाली गाड़ी में आ जाए. Physical आ जाए पीछे वाले में आ जाए.
So anyone online, will just take one view because we are running short of time. Online, if someone wants to contribute, there are these scenarios I have no answers to. I thought तुम लोग का answer मिले.
Yeah, I had a even better answer than halting in the dhaba. Let's move ahead, get to a city where you actually can find some printers, all these things, because you already have a e-way bill which is valid up to Trichy. So instead of halting in the middle of nowhere in the jungle,
makes sense.
You could possibly move ahead and then start coming back.
What I suggest, you take the issue of return.
Okay.
More interesting.
So we'll skip the next.
Then if time permits, we will
take the next case study. Come to case study 5. Case study 5 is on this new 3B format which is prescribed. So circular number 170 is issued, which talks about issued by the department, which talks about mandatory furnishing of correct and proper information of interstate supplies and ineligible blocked ITC and reversal in 3B, etc. Now, question is this circular, this is issued under section 168. Section 168 gives the power to the board to issue orders, clarifications, or instructions to tax officers for whatever purposes. Now, this is issued to technically under section 168. Can it be enforced on a taxpayer? 160.
May I ask you to rephrase? Can it be legally enforced?
Can it be legally
enforced?
Yeah. Can it be legally enforced? Yeah, credit note अपना win उनका win ये credit note अपना win 3B उनका win. No, but so is the circular ultra vires, is it going beyond its scope?
So the power is limited only to giving instructions to department.
Okay. So, but then, so very smartly, everywhere they are saying this circular is issued for revenue split between state and center. So can they also argue saying that no, this is not applicable to you? If it is beneficial in nature, circulars you can apply. If circular is not beneficial, you cannot apply. Because see, even if I was to challenge it, can I go and challenge because this was never applicable to me? Because it is issued under 168.
Which I think you can always challenge it. See, is there a mandate in the law for me to mandatorily report my ineligible block credits and all these things in table 40 and whatever that position is?
No, it just says in form and format as prescribed.
That's
exactly.
If it was not mandated, the circular is itself, whether even let's say for argument's sake, section 168 can give the powers from give clarification to taxpayers also. Still, if it is not mandated, can they enforce it? No. So, बिना powers के question बचता नहीं मेरे हिसाब से फिर. It's their job to figure out how to split it in between the states and all these things. Nothing to do with me.
Yes, exactly.
So then, if I don't want to apply, I don't apply.
Taxpayers is always an option. That is, circulars are not binding on them. It is always optional. If it is beneficial, you opt it. If it is not beneficial, don't take it. बराबर है ना sir? हमको अच्छा लगता है तो ले लो, नहीं अच्छा लगता है तो
So we have many case laws also.
In fact, worst come, let's say if we don't apply, they are going to ask for 25,000. That's the worst come.
25,000 penalty, but
general provision 120.
But
what is the default?
What is the default?
I am saying worst.
Let's say they find a default. We'll on that line. Let's say they find a default.
Correct.
There is no default.
There is no default.
Whatever in the return they have said that we have furnished. So there is no inaccurate particulars of income.
As long as I am claiming correct credit, they cannot say that तुमने 17.5 declare नहीं किया. अरे लिया ही नहीं तो declare क्यों करो? ऐसा है. So someone has written in the chat box that I should give my views, sir. For those e-way bill practical views, even it's all in the air. Practically, you can issue a credit note and then bring back the goods or dispatch the goods. But legally, credit note cannot be issued. So per se, I don't have a legal answer to it. And can such a circular be issued by the department? If so, under which section? So I believe there is no other section where circular can be issued. If they wanted to mandate something like this, they could have issued instructions below the format of the return, like they did in GST or 996, where they say कि ये HSN इतना इधर डालो उधर डालो. So those instructions they could have given, but very smartly they have issued a circular. Now we come to another very practical issue, which is also based on the circular, is that what is to be taken as base? Is books of accounts to be taken as base or is GSTR to be? Because if you read the circular, it says GSTR to be you take, then let's say there is some mistake in the to be. So we'll take three scenarios in this. Say there is an arithmetical mistake. I purchased from someone, instead of showing 10,000 rupees as credit, he showed 1 lakh rupees of credit. Ek zero बढ़ गया. So in this case, this is never my credit. Am I supposed to show it in 4A and reverse it in 4B? Is it logical? Because it is not my credit at all. Secondly, let's take a scenario where transaction which is not pertaining to me is also showing there. Can I show it and then reverse it? Because the logic, if you refer to the circular, logic clearly says that they talk of this scenario where goods were dispatched, goods have not been received by me, but invoice is received by me. Obviously, on cutoff date transaction, say 30th September, goods were dispatched, that guy will show it in his GSTR1. It is showing in my GSTR2B. Here they are saying you show it in your 2B or 3B and reverse it, saying that goods not received, which is illogical, because according to your accounting standards, you will never book it in your books of accounts. So then, do you take your GSTR 2B as base or books of accounts as base? Because eventual answer may be same, but can department tomorrow come say you have availed and then reversed, when it was never your credit? So there is a view in the industry saying that you take GSTR 2B as base.
Sharma ji, just for your information, since you are more from direct tax, now in the GSTR 3B return, what they are saying that if you want to avail the credit, you have to take the base of 2B, which is there, just on a 26 A's income tax. They are saying on the basis of that only you avail the credit. Books of account, you forget it. So now, sir, tell me, under the Income Tax Act, 26 A's के हिसाब से हम return भरेंगे कि हमारी books के भर? Naturally, right? So here the same problem we are discussing, that you cannot dictate through circular that you have to take the credit as per in the sum of the document of the government, which might be right, which might be not be right. On the basis of that, we take the credit and then we do some reconciliation with the books of account and then file the return. This is totally absurdness. We have to, our base is books of account. On the basis of books of account, then we have to do the reconciliation, what is available, not available, of course, within the law, what has been prescribed. But so this is total absurdness which is there.
I have a little bit different take on that, on the 26 example. Just if I try to equate this thing, would it be equal to me taking the entire 26 years in my scheduled TDS and disclosing that this does not pertain to me, this I want to carry forward? So take my entire 26 years and let me disclose over there that this doesn't pertain to me, or this I'm carrying it forward and this I'm claiming instead of my books. So my TDS schedule should allow me to add something manually? No. It should allow me to add something which is not reflected in 26 years for the time being. Similarly, this should also allow me, but the restriction is being put forth by this circular. My point is that any excess credits that are visible in 2B, why shouldn't I reverse it?
So I will give you a live example.
They are not asking me to show expenses in the input tax.
Now let us take an example. I have sold the goods to you. Tax is 1 lakh rupees.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, on the 11th hour, instead of putting the tax amount 1 lakh, I have put 10 lakhs rupees tax. तो आपके 2B में कितना आ गया? 10 lakhs आ गया.
ठीक है.
Now losses as per 10 lakhs आपको लेना है क्रेडिट, तो आपके उसमें 10 lakhs की क्रेडिट आ गई. ठीक है. फिर आप उसको रिवर्स करोगे आपके रिटर्न में? क्यों करोगे?
आपका क्रेडिट ही नहीं.
1 lakh आप करेक्ट करोगे ना? Now in your books of account you have correctly recorded 1 lakh rupees. So आपको 1 lakh से 10 lakh आओगे या 10 lakh से 1 lakh आओगे?
So what I'm trying to propose, when it is visible as 10 lakh in my 2B, when I'm filing my 3B, the table 4. So table 4A5, that may show 10 lakh. Then your part B, in the reversals, B2, will show reversal of let's say 9 lakh.
Under which section you will reverse it? First of all, tell me. Under which section you will, there they have given reversal. कहाँ आप reversal करोगे?
So I am see in terms of what we are talking of entitlement and all, ये है ही नहीं मेरा.
मेरा first of all
16(1) में ही निकल जाएगा.
मेरा eligibility नहीं है. Eligibility नहीं और आप क्रेडिट लेनी है.
16(1) में
ऐसा थोड़ी होता है.
In fact, just because you want to match it.
Yes, exactly. That is the thing.
Government burden is put on us.
हाँ, there way easy. ये तो ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जांपल मिलेंगे. So that is total absurdness. Very important thing, Sumit. जो ड्राफ्ट अभी आया है ना 3B का, जो पब्लिक डोमेन में रखा है, we have to represent. Sir, this is a totally not correct thing. हाँ,
उसमें
नहीं अभी तो क्या है, आपको एडिट करने को मिल रहा है. कांतिलाल जी, अभी आपको एडिट करना मिल रहा है. Moment it exceeds that 10% और 20% वो रेड हो जाएगा. अभी ऐसा हो जाएगा, पूरा रिटर्न में रेड दिखेगा.
नहीं उसमें
ऐसे भी दिख रहा है.
उसमें अभी क्या है?
एक मिनट. So now what they are saying that after 2-3 months or 6 month period of time, they want to static that. That means you cannot edit it. That's why the draft has been put on the public domain that you please give us a recommendation whether we should go for this or not. So now we should represent them that this should not be done. Otherwise the life would be miserable. ये चर्च गेट जाना है लेकिन कहां से मैं ट्रेन पकड़ू, सेंट्रल लाइन का पकड़ू, हार्बर पकड़ू कि वेस्टर्न पकड़ू, और ये तीन में बोलते नहीं आप वेस्टर्न से उल्टा जाओ. This is the scenario.
But do you think the result of the representation would be a provision, introduction provision in law whereby which they will mandate this thing?
No, so I am
2B law.
आप मैं ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ आप जाइए बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट से रिकंसाइल कीजिए to 2B, not the other way around. ये तो ऐसा हो गया 2B से आप पहले रिकंसाइल कर रहे हो, then our books will not be matched.
नहीं बुक्स का मैचिंग सर कैसे
मैं सर दूसरा
from their perspective I'm just telling you they are trying to match your table 4C with your books. आपका टेबल 4C जो नेट आईटीसी अवेल्ड आया है वो आपके बुक से मैच होगा. 4A4B is the RICO between 2B to coming to books. We are trying to put it in a reverse format that it should be from books to my
exactly
2B.
So that is the right way. Now we will give you another example. मेरे को I have sold goods to you, बराबर है. Instead of putting your GST मैंने उमंग कटा, उमंग की बुक्स में आ गई. ना वो क्या करेगा 2B, वो रिवर्स कैसे करेगा, कहाँ कौन से प्रो नीचे प्रो रिवर्स करेगा, नहीं कर पाएगा. ये सारे ऐसे इश्यूज है जो बाय लॉ ही डजंट हैव द एंटाइटलमेंट एलिजिबिलिटी, बट तो रिवर्स भी कहाँ करेगा. एक परमानेंट रिवर्सल है, दैट मींस वो सेक्शन लिखा हुआ है 42, 43, 17, वहां तो आएगा नहीं. एनी अदर है वो टाइमिंग वाला है, तो ये भी टाइमिंग वाला नहीं है. आप कहाँ डालोगे. अगेन रॉन्ग इंफॉर्मेशन, रॉन्ग डेटा विल गो, AIS will be generated, AI will be generated. So this is the difficulty. That's why the best option. And return कैसे भरोगे, based on my books of account, not as per the someone else's books of account. आप तो ऐसी बात कर रहे हो. That is what my proposition.
And what I foresee is in GSTR 9 also जो auto populate आएगा वो अगर आप ये कर रहे हो, समझो गुड्स नॉट रिसीव्ड, तो आपने लेके रिवर्स किया, फिर वापस लिया, वापस इंफॉर्मेशन डाला, आप प्लस माइनस करते रहो. आफ्टर 12 months इतना वॉल्यूम हो जाएगा, यू विल हैव नो आइडिया कि मेरा ग्रॉस के, बिकॉज ग्रॉस अमाउंट जो 4A आएगा विल बी टू हाई. इवेंचुअल आपका आंसर राइट होगा नेट, बट ग्रॉस कभी मैच नहीं हो. तो दिस इज सीम्स इलॉजिकल.
On that, on second note, there might be a mechanism whereby your gross to match your 4A will be 4A minus your 4D1 reclaimed.
But वो उनका
possibly
idea
the reason they have put for this position कि आपने जो reclaim किया है अगले महीने के 2B में आपको सिंस एक्सेस नोटिस नहीं है, इसलिए आप reclaim का नीचे डाल दो ऊपर से कि 2B plus reclaim and put that reclaim down. It's a for their simplicity they are putting the onus upon us.
Exactly.
Correct.
उनकी simplicity के लिए they are making the life miserable of the taxpayer.
So this is for matching because
yeah,
हर state रो रहे हैं.
In my table 4, 5, which we are saying that if I am taking as per books, in my books I have 1,000 rupees of ITC, out of which to be showing only 800. So for if I will put 1,000 and then I have to reverse 200 because it's not part of 2. That is just a temporary reversal. Subsequently, again I have to add that above, and we again even have told to disclose it separately. Disclosure will go in subsequent month. So in while doing assessment also, that whatever we are disclosing separately, that also we have to give some reconciliation of that as well.
Exactly.
Reconciliation.
Now believe me, to take the credit, it's a miracle task, right? Because you have to keep so many reconciliation. पहला तो आएगा मेरी बुक्स में नहीं है, 2B में दिख रहा है. फिर दूसरा आएगा 2B में दिख रहा है, बुक्स में है, 2B में नहीं है. फिर थर्ड सिनेरियो जो मैंने बताया जो एक्सेस आ गया 10 lakh 1 lakh. फोर्थ सिनेरियो बिटवीन मी एंड दिस पर्सन की गलत सी क्रेडिट आ गई. तो 4 सिनेरियो तो अभी.
And also apart from that,
you have a separate reconciliation for that.
Table 8A of R9 is taking ITC from 2A. For books, we are like for 3B, we are saying it is from 2B. So even there is one recall between 2A and 2B at the time.
But eventually, the 2A 2B will match. So let's at least.
But 2B will be fees on 30th of April.
2A is dynamic.
Correct.
2A will be valid till 30th November as on date. So there will be some recall.
So I really will not able to understand that once this bill is implemented and everyone will file, what will ever happen after 1 year when the audit will come, how to explain?
And that also, let's say you got notice for August and September में आपने वो reversal और वो किया है, आपको थोड़ी याद है अपने September में. August, because they are very smart, they will only give for the month of August you have claimed excess. So when we go, when notice is received, we will start with August only. We won't go ahead somewhere. तो ढूंढना पड़ेगा वापस.
ऐसा नोटिस है ना तो जुलाई 17 से till date.
So now the जो हमारी VAT era में practice थी कि एक वो चीट में gross amount लिख के दे दिया ना, we were filing return. That will not help. You have to have invoice wise detail. Then and then only you can do it. Yeah. So otherwise, to file the return, it would be really a nightmare for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think next one we don't need to take.
Yeah.
So with this, I'd like to thank. I think someone has raised their hand. If you want to take that last.
Yes, you just take that very.
एक ले लेना. We have to.
Pradeep,
yeah. Okay.
So with this, new format, are we again entering into the old era of excise where we were maintaining those registers where, we used to write invoice number, party name and amount of GST. So are we going back to those era?
Yes. Though it is not expected, but the lawmaker has now made it compulsory that we have to have such kind of records. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to claim the credit.